Well, let's see, folks. It says, I got it. You got it. So we are live. So good to see everyone. Give me 1 second as I go up here, hit that button, and we're good to go. Hey, and I'm just only a minute and a half early. Love it. Trust you do too. So happy Monday. Mondays are prosperity day. If you've got to start the week, then start it, baby, with prosperity. Speak it, believe it, live it, and enjoy it. There you go. So, favor be upon us all. Happy birthday, Deborah Sloan. Much love to you, dear. Good to have you here, and make it the best day. You know, I don't know if it's really the actual age that we say it is, but hey, we have to have a reference point. So, Deborah, thank you as a moderator and as a friend and as a vital part of this community and the Soul Tribe family. Hey, Brenda, it's good to see you, Street Mom. Loretta and Sean, and I saw, was it Clever Gypsy? How are you doing? Good to see you. Linda Espinoza, how are you doing, dear? 8K Morning Star, what's up, Elderberry and Robin? So good to see all of you. Nothing missing, nothing broken. I create what I speak. I love that. And I believe it's true. So, again, happy Prosperity Day. Thank you for being here. And if anyone else has a birthday, happy birthday. I have someone in the family who has a birthday today as well. Yeah, it's cool. I don't know what awaits on the other side. I don't know if we celebrate our death day on the other side. I mean, do you walk up to someone, like, I don't know, 200 years later? That's supposing that there really is this other realm. And, what do you say? Hey, John, happy death day to you. I don't know. It's weird, isn't it? Gilbert, how are you doing? Speaking of Gilbert, got his beautiful card. Is that far out, man? Yep. Gilbert, thank you, thank you, thank you. We're going to have Gilbert on. Gilbert's a cool dude. Has a beautiful Harley, and he's a free. He's got the freedom. Freedom. I love it. Jackie, good to see you, DC. What else is Scotty Boy? What's up, Joe Sapien? Good to see you as well. And Joyce, Colleen, Eye of the Maelstrom. Good evening to you. Mr. Robert V is in the house. So good to see you, Robert. What's happening? It's a beautiful day. It really is. If you look out into the world, you could really freak out. Not here. Not here. So, New Yoda, good to see you. Hello, John Price. What's up? I like those. Remember the talking lizard commercials Budweiser used to do? Also, have some creativity, folks. Love those commercials. It was cool. So, Melissa, good to see you as well. So, what'd y'all think of the graphic, the slide? Does anyone want to take a guess? I took that picture, by the way. So anyone want to take a guess as to what that picture is or of? Anybody? Anybody? Come on in. Come on in. The water's just fine. I love that one commercial. It says she started dating again and she got in the pool and she says, I'm pretty sure there's pee in here. Anyway, I digress. Lost in Space. How you doing, Bonnie? Good to see you. So check out. Someone said, I miss Spuds. Yeah. It's those commercials were entertaining. They were a client of mine back in the day, Bud Sports, and yeah. Whew, going back. So anyone want to take a guess? Gilbert said liquid glass. Okay. Show it again. I can't show it. I'll tell you what I can do though, Bonnie. Give me 1 second here. And I will just pull this puppy up. Give me 1 second. And okay, so Let me go over here. Then let me go here. And then let me go here. Okay. There's nothing. Well, I beg to differ with you. All right. So we're going to play this game, eh? Okay. Well, I will get it up. I will be victorious. I cannot be dissuaded. Okay. So let's try this. There we go. So here is the picture in question. Gilbert said liquid glass. Yeah. So I can't see the chat room, but yeah. So I took this picture and it's amazing, how our mind works. Because I'm sure all of us could see just a lot of stuff in this thing. I mean, wow. It's like, who ever thought that possible? I mean, it's like the universe is right before us. We can see it. Sure you can. In fact, if I could almost show a comparison of a picture that we have of our galactic core, which oddly enough looks a lot like this. So anyway, I'll stop the share and I'll get back over here. There we are. Paul Joe says a flashlight and a glass. Yeah. Sean says Hades. Lost in Space says crystal. Brian says, I see people in robes. Yeah, yeah. There you go, elderberry. Caught a gin. That's interesting. Copper foil covered in acid. Wow, that's interesting. Ice cubes in a beverage. Carolina in the Pines. How are you doing? Great. Caramel apple. It's so interesting, isn't it? I love this. So what it was yesterday afternoon. I'm walking and we have this open concept to part of our house. And let me see if I can actually pull this up so y'all can see what this actually started out as. And I'm going to have to get it, but this will work. Sure it will. So there is the picture. It was sitting just on top of the air fryer. Dancer, stop. You have to pardon the dogs. We had and people coming and installing some stuff in the house. So anyway, the point of that is, as I'm walking by, it was like this laser. I mean, this golden light, and stopped. And my wife, she was, in the living room, and she could see the light, as it was coming across. So the sun just hit that honey at that right point, and all I did was just come in and close up on it. So yeah, there you go. I love it. Our brains, they're freaking fantastic. That's all I can tell you. They're freaking fantastic, man. Yeah, totally across the board. Wow. And, I love that picture because let me see if I can pull it back up again. Because if you now know what it is, let's take another look at it. And as it pulls it up, and as I come in here and we go right through there again. So now take a look at it. And now it makes sense, doesn't it? You can look at that and go, yeah, that's honey. But you can't help but not think, folks, that, what the heck is going on here? I mean, I saw for myself this face. Did you see this face right here? I mean, and then you've got I don't know what the hell you could call this. And then there's some action going back here. This is like, I don't know. I almost get this sense of an ear. That would imply that this is some sort of face. That would say that this potentially could be an eye, but there's definitely a face there looking back, So, hey, dancer, quit now, sweetie, you know. So anyway, dancer, please, sweetie. Yeah, we have company. So anyway, kind of cool, isn't it? I just love being aware of stuff, man. I mean, it's like walking along and to have the presence of mind to see these little nuances. Someone wrote that we actually live ahead in the future. We see about 15 seconds ahead. Takes our brains a while to compile all this data. In fact, there's too much data. So what it will do is scruff off, kind of details that you really don't need to remember so much. And it's odd because is memory then based upon the mere ability of this organ processing data? It gets deep, doesn't it? And, so what we end up seeing is just a real narrow perspective. Yeah. And hey, Mary Wins, how you doing? Paula, good to see you. So it's just one of those questions, I think upon these things all the time because, yeah. So I want to tell you, and this, I don't get compensation for anything. And if I try something that I really find really cool, I'll have to tell you, it's called The Empress and the Hierophant. She has just some far out stuff, folks. This is incense, handcrafted. This is manifestation. And folks, I gotta tell you, my wife, who isn't always a real fan of the incense that I burn, oh man, this is just, yeah, this stuff is, it's almost intoxicating. Does that make sense? It smells so good. And you can find her and their products over on Etsy. And just go in there and put the Empress and the Hierophant. So they sent this little sample, as you can see, of all made, handmade as you, and I opened this and it was like, wow. Oh man. And even my wife just said, what is that? So that's my 5-star review. They have a number of products in there. I've bought more since then. And like I said, it's all done. This is drawing, manifest. Oh, man. I just got to tell you, folks, it is this sum of the best stuff. I use it, and I'm telling you, this is good stuff. And excellent in meditation. It really helps you get into the groove. It's all right, dance. It's all right, sweetie. Lay down. I know. Lay down, baby. That's dancer. She's like, what is going on with the routine? It's all unbalanced. So, Mike, good to see you. So, Elderberry says, try the cedar that grows around you. Yeah. Got some of those around us. We do. Got a real tall one, Elderberry. So that is true. That is so true. So anyway, what else? put my my traction bag, my little, it's fun making those things. You get some lodestone and then you add some whatever it is that you're into, get your own vibe, your own energy, and it's really very cool. So, all right, I want to get into something that and again, thank you everyone that is here. Thank you for all the people in the chat room. I mean, you know, be more, be more, be more. It's the best thing I can say. Thank you. And so y'all are an intelligent group, some of the most enlightened individuals that I've had the privilege and honor to get to know over the years. And I am just thankful for that. And there's such gratitude with that, because to meet people, particularly more than a couple, that have the same, I don't know, same energy, same frequency, same vibe. And I guess in one sense, that's how churches and temples come together, but they come together for a different purpose, and that's a whole different vibe. I love the fact that this group is open-minded enough to consider all possible points of view, not judge one as being either above or below any of the others. The universe is a big place. I tell you what, I mean, you know, I just don't think it's like, I'm sorry, we cannot use another idea. All full up. Sorry, folks, this universe can't put any more into it. I mean, does it really turn out like that? Well, Mark Smith, thank you, sir. Dominic, good to see you. So, Pin Greedy, hello. Troublesome 93, what's up? So, all right. I want to ask this group, and those of you who listen on replay, thank you. Thank you for hitting the like button. Feed the algorithm, right? So, and I'm very serious about this. I really want to know what you think of the following statement. And it can be a simple yes or no. If you want to elaborate on your answer, that's cool. So do females, women, do they have a soul? Furthermore, under the current, and if you hear something in the background, as I told you, we got stuff being installed. So can females enter heaven? Now, this goes with the Abrahamic beliefs, you know, which what I call it, the three-pointed beast. That's what it is. But anyway, I digress. So, can women, females, go to heaven? Kelly says yes. Lost in Space says yes. Nunu says, I guess, of course. Hey, AK, what's up? Paul Joe says yes. All right. Would it surprise anyone in this group to know that the Jesus, there's a lot of them, but, you know, according to this book, which has actually been, you know, tested, the type of papyri that it was written in, the type of Greek, which then that brings up a whole different thing. And we know actually predates all the canonical Gospels. Anyway, I'm speaking specifically of the Gospel of Thomas, which is found in the Nag Hammadi. So I want to read something to you that I think you might find rather interesting. As you can see, I've marked it here for quick reference. So this is the end of the Gospel of Thomas. And it says in verse 114, says, Simon Peter said to them, Mary should leave us for females are not worthy of life. Jesus said, look, I shall guide her to make her male, so that she too may become a living spirit resembling you males. For every female who makes herself male will enter heaven's kingdom. The Gospel according to Thomas. In Aaron Spencer's Fogelman's book, Jesus is Female, he went on to point out that you got a real problem here, because what we see by that statement, according to the Gospel of Thomas, which was estimated to be written somewhere about 40 AD, would make it one of the most recent known books ever out there after the supposed life of this. Now, whether this was metaphorical, where this was, a literal person, that's debatable. We're just talking about what was reading. But now it's interesting. So I can now show you in the book of 1 Corinthians, where Paul says that women are to be separated from men. They are to be wearing a cover of shame over their heads and not speak in the presence of the Lord. I didn't write it. So I am just asking here. We're going to get into a white paper. So what's this? You just want to write it off and just say, oh, well, that really doesn't matter. Actually, it matters a lot. Because, whether you want to say the Apocrypha is not canon, sanctioned by the church, is to be included in, the Latin Vulgate, not the King James, the Latin Vulgate. You see, what's in the King James today is a spell book. You see, you had the first council of Nicaea to take place. That was 345, somewhere around there, after the death, right? CE, current event. That they had all these books. And the thing about it is, the custom back in that day as well, women did not have rights. They didn't have birthrights. They didn't have rights to inheritances. I mean, it was pretty much sucked. So the question, and Lori, I hope you're not saying that in anger. I didn't write it. I didn't write it. It's out there. It's part of the belief system. Again, they went through supposedly thousands of books. Now, what gives this some validity, we know that if you follow the Pauline writings of his epistles, that he mentions a book about to the Laodiceans. And I studied these people, the culture back then. Why? Because I was heavily indoctrinated. So Paul, when they finally got what they called the Bible, again, the Latin Vulgate, that was the standard for 1,000+ years. And then you have this cat who first writes a book about demonology, then says, oh, I got the thing, I want to reinvent the Bible. So I want kind of a distracting in all this, because the male prominence of our today's culture is still male dominant, male driven, male based. And if the belief systems have been hidden as part of the trick, part of the spell, the God spell, because we can go all the way back to the Old Testament, and this was verified. God never made any covenant with a woman. He cursed them. cursed him for with childbirth. So it's so offensive to our reason, and particularly this group here, that it's the possibility exists that the founders of any belief system, religious or otherwise, that knew this, then you've got to ask yourself, then is today they worshiping the same deity that this was? Because this was Simon Peter that said it, not Thomas. Thomas is just writing it down. And of course, we know that the legend says that, he became the first pope. Supposedly he was crucified upside down. I don't know. I wasn't there. But when I do read this, it bothers me because it's so easy to live under deception. Sometimes I feel like this is like the movie Inception. I'm awakening from a dream of a dream of a dream of a dream. It's just nuts. But ladies, I really like to, if we can take the emotion out of this, what does that say to you? I have a couple of white papers on PDF, by the way, how we talk about this. This particular book is Gender and Gnostic, Making of the Female Host. Now, it's really weird because as we get into this, there is apparently either two different Jesuses in either eschatology or in theology, or some kind of blending took place. Because if this was known even up until, the 15th century, which would, 1550s thereabout, here's part of my throwing it out there at the water cooler today. So what if, just what if, that what we have today is really the net result of a spell cast in such a manner that it erases the actual history, the actual roots, foundations of a belief system. And in order to find this to become more acceptable, we had to get away from genderification. But even if you look in the medieval times, the Renaissance period was probably maybe somewhat of an exception, although it was still there. The female has always been one step below. And if the myths are to be believed, that Queen Elizabeth I was, in fact, Neville, then we've got, this is a really whacked out place. But anyway, so in this book, if you want to read it, y'all should read this. It's quite interesting. It says, one of the effects of the Gospel of Thomas is to undo the Jesus of the New Testament and return to us an earlier Jesus. If the Jesus of the Gospel of Thomas is also to be regarded as a literary character, then at least he will be the right literary character. So right now, this spell is that there is a perception. I contend this. As I left Christianity, the thing was, it's got freaking tentacles everywhere. It had to be, in my mind, to say, all right, it appears that there is an illusionary character that the world believes actually existed. And it's not maybe that it wasn't patterned after an actual life, but, the names and have been changed to protect the innocent. Well, it was to deceive it. So here we've got an issue because the cats in the Nag Hammadi, if you read those writings, this Jesus character was a radical. And he said, I didn't come to bring peace. I brought the sword. Says, I came to divide husband and wife, father and son, daughter and mother. Damn. All right. This is all getting back to the point. Is there a potential fact, and I'm not saying it is, but let's just say what ifs, that has been known by the church and every other religion, and I wonder how much of the occult, and I'll put an ask you by that statement here in a second, that they've known about this. I mean, this is to me the complete desolation and desecration of the goddess. That even if there was a belief, and they've dated this, so this was obviously a belief system of someone's. And that if what they're saying is to be taken literally, wow, we got a really messed up situation here. That's all I got to say. Now, I want to get back to the occultism. I do not believe that what I can find, because I was researching this over the weekend, the thing about paganism existed way before Christianity, way before any of the current belief systems today. And the thing that why it has always been shunned is that the thing about whether it's paganism, witchcraft, magic, it is strongly dominated by the feminine energy. That's why a lot of males don't do well. And that's why they usually will build, for instance, the Kabbalah is a problem in one aspect. It's because where it comes from. It denies the feminine in as such. Now, it will tell you, I know what the theory is, the tree of life. But folks, then you're schizophrenic in your belief system. Let me go on and read this. Unlike the canonical gospels, that of Judas, Thomas, and the twins, spare us the crucifixion, makes the resurrection unnecessary. What? And does not present us with a God named Jesus. Is Jesus a God? How else can a God save anyone? No, dogmas could be founded upon the sequence, if it is a sequence, of the epigens. If you turn to the Gospel of Thomas, you encounter a Jesus who is unsponsored and free. I swear this dude, man, if he wasn't eating mushrooms, then he was definitely on something else that we just didn't know. I mean, people got high back in those days. Don't think they don't. Where do you think hash came from? I mean, that's not a modern 20th century invention. Hey, Dave, how you doing, man? Yeah, I just invented this thing. What the hell you call it? I don't know, but it's kind of harsh. Well, why don't you call it hash? No. So in Legion 114, the final item of the Gospel of Thomas is one of the most controversial sayings. It reads as follows, and we're going to do this again. Simon Peter, said to them, Mary should leave us, for females are not worthy of life. Folks, this is class. I mean, I got to get people on here because I'd love to have a round table on this. And again, it's this type of stuff you find you're going, what the fuck were they thinking? I mean, my mind finds this to be so foreign. It's offensive. But then again, I can't be sitting here judging because I obviously lack some data here. Now, I can extrapolate that if you're telling me, and it seemed to be very common, that seemed to be well within their known vernacular, for females are not worthy of life. Jesus said, look, I shall guide her to make her male so that she too may become a living spirit resembling you males. Man, I told you folks, someone wrote me this email. This is what got me going down this road. And thank you for the email. I mean, the person said, you know what? I hated you. But said, you challenged me every time. And now they're thankful they're seeing things a little differently. But again, read it for yourself. So I've said this all along, that Eve never had a living soul. You can't show me in any gospel or text that God gave Eve a living soul. And if you're making the assumption that somehow Adam had this remarkable power, well, you're putting in something I don't think is actually in there. For every female who makes herself male will enter heaven's kingdom. So, all right, so let's just take this and maybe look at this from an esoteric point of view. I mean, it's still requiring the feminine to adapt itself to the masculine. And this is some weird stuff. It says, although shocking to modern readers, the sentiment expressed in Login 114 is not unique and without precedent in Gnostic literature. A gender transformation of the same kind is found in the first Apocalypse of Jane, which states, the perishable has gone up to be imperishable, and the female element has attained to this male element. Wow. I mean, what do you say about this? The Eponymous Pragmatist of Zoroastros anticipates a similar transgendering for his female readers. Then, when they are urged to flee from the madness and the bondage of femaleness, and choose for yourselves the salvation of maleness. Related sentiments in which females are again required to become male in order to attain salvation can be found in the Valentinian and the Nazarene writings. There are also references to the transcending rather than the exchange of gender as essential to spiritual progress. What? There are also references to the transcending rather than the exchange of gender as essential to spiritual progress. I know many in the witches communities that would just absolutely say, see, this is the type of crap that, that's what they did to our ancestors. They burned them at the stake. They and particularly for a woman, the atrocities. Now you know where this is coming from. For example, in the Login 22 of Thomas, Jesus says, when you make the male and female into one single one, so that the male will not be the male, nor the female be female, then you will enter the kingdom. I mean, okay, now I'm really confused. Now, one could take the point of view of saying, okay, maybe this is the end of dualism. The two that were separate shall become one. I mean, we get that in where marriage, relationships, people, they bond and then blend. They say that the hardest part of divorce is not the actual act of divorce. Where the pain is coming from is what you have when you have two spirits that have joined and have pulled apart. And you feel that in these bodies. And we'll definitely get into more of the soul and the spirit, because what's going on here? It says the Gnostic literature repeatedly associates the female with the earthly and corruptible, and the male with the spiritual and incorruptible. I mean, I don't know, but it seemed like to me, if you're going to build a skyscraper, you've got to build a deep foundation, right, to hold up the building. Same thing with any belief system. So if this is the foundation, I don't care what you put on top of it. I mean, you can remodel it and you can recall it whatever you want. It doesn't change what the foundation it was built upon is. So if this is the known knowledge, logos, that the female is associated with the earthly and corruptible. Well, I go right back to this whole thing, this thing that we're living in today, that this deity cursed the earth. Well, what did he do to Eve? Cursed her too. Hey, he cursed us too, but he didn't give us the birth pains, And the male with the spiritual and incorruptibles. Female sexuality in particular is targeted. For instance, the book of Thomas, the Contender, has Jesus saying, "Woe to you who love intimacy with womankind and polluted intercourse with them." Inseparable from this, of course, is female fertility, whose negative potential is often emphasized. In the second discourse of the great Seth, Jesus says, "And do not become female, lest you give birth to evil and its brothers, jealousy and division, anger and wrath, fear and a divided heart, and empty, non-existent desire." Whoa. An instruction in the dialogue of the Savior even commands us to destroy the works of womanhood. In contrast, maleness was repeatedly identified with spirit, truth, and the divine. The mindset of the ancient world was patriarchal to the point of misogyny. I mean, folks, this is just, the way that it is today. The founders of many of these belief systems would absolutely reject what today we say are the results of these people's words and beliefs. Because if this has been in the dialogue, you can't escape from it. It's right there. I mean, wow. And I keep on thinking of Lilith in this thing. I mean, wow. Is there anything good here that, one could derive from? I don't know. It says sex and the spirit in traditional and ancient societies. It is both interesting and sobering to note that such spiritually negative interpretations of female gender and sexuality often have counterparts in the mythic ritual structures of traditional societies today. Paradoxically, sexuality is opposed to fertility. It is associated with flesh, decomposition, and women, while true ancestral fertility is a mythical process symbolized by the tomb and the male bones. Thus, for the Merina people of Madagascar, physical birth, which is represented as an exclusively female activity, is polluting and is subsequently transcended by the circumcision ceremony, at which the child is torn away from the divisive and impure world of women to be born into a pure and undivided world of the male decent group. The belief structure for the Lagrara of Uganda and the Bara of Madagascar identifies women with sexuality and sexuality with death. Victory over death is symbolically achieved by the victory over female sexuality and the word of women. Wow. Woof. Okay. Maria Gimbutas postulated that the people of Old Europe, 7,000, 3,000 BCE, venerated a great mother goddess. The goddess' innate androgyny was rectified in the form of a phallic female statuettes, a visual paradox that survived or reemerged in some later cultures, and that in certain regions persists to the present day. In her holistic form, where she acted both as creator and destroyer, well, that sounds like Kali, she was responsible for the full cycle of birth, death, and rebirth. In Gimbutas' view, the peaceful matriarchal culture of Old Europe did not divide the great goddess in fragments of good and bad, as did the patriarchal and warlike Proto-Indo-European societies, and subjugated them years from the 44 to 2800 BCE. Unsurprisingly, the latter also introduced a hierarchical pantheon headed by male deities. Naturally, the goddess who figured is an embodied phallus, which in its most extreme form would have redefined manhood as a mere tool for the realization of female identity. Wow. Did not fare well, huh? No. From the fragments of the prehistoric female androgyny arose her alter ego, the male androgyny. Castries such as the sorrowful gods or year gods, who have provided a major archetype of fertility deity in literature cultures for the past 5,000 years. So, yeah. And here are the figurines. Sex, sex, sex. Always the sex. So we can get into this, and I'm looking at the time here, but more. I mean, fertility was a big thing back then. I mean, you know, most childbirths did not result in life. Many times the newborn was, you know, succumbed to just the elements themselves. So this has got history behind it. And so one other paper I found is interesting. So I've established that thought, right? So now let's take the female aspect of the physical body, the human body. Now extrapolate this to the curse, which makes the female the host. You see, it's so interesting when you think about how we produce as a species. The male is always exempt. The male doesn't go through the metamorphosis of the change physiology with the woman. I mean, this is heavy stuff. And you begin to think about one spirit, one soul giving birth or channeling in another soul. I mean, that is some heavy stuff, because I don't see the male doing that. Not at all. I won't get into a lot of this, but here is the idea. is that if you look at womanhood, and this is how the motherhood of the divine motherhood plays a role, because the problem was, if you have this strictly this patriarchal point of view with no allowance of the feminine to come in, wow, I mean, think about the results of this. I mean, what do you got? A bunch of robots to me. Anyway, so this is how the prayer came. Hail Mary, full of grace, the Lord is with thee. Blessed are those among women, and blessed is the fruit of thy womb. Bearing the Son of God, Mary's motherhood is and has made Mary divine. So how does motherhood change from a divine state that grants divinity in Luke to the dehumanization that rescinds rights in the contemporary political discourse? She's right. And that carries forth all the way into current divisions of what we see today in society. And the aspect that the book, and I don't want to get all the way into this, it's a great read, is the fact it really comes down to certain things. That if women don't have a soul, then what happens here? I mean, how does this thing that, you blend the feminine into the masculine, and apparently you don't even have the masculine or the feminine. And then you get into the whole debate that why the necessity of giving birth the way that we do. I mean, if you were designing a species, there's probably just billions of other ways you could do reproduction. And again, if the female is somehow secondary, how does she have this remarkable ability of not even giving birth, and which this paper contends it's really not that away? She's really a host. I mean, this fetus feeds off of her. For 9 months, its total existence is required by her. And how does this soul come into play? I'll get out of here. By the way, later this week, we're going to get into, most likely on Wednesday, the 6th and 7th book of Moses, because this all really has an interesting tie-in. So let me get out of it. I know this is a deep conversation, but for me, I really want to know what the ladies in the group and who listen, what's your take on this? And I get the fact that in modern cultures, they evolve societies, but we're still based on so much of this. You can't simply come in and say, well, what I'm going to do is I'm going to partition this part off because I'm going to pretend like this doesn't have anything to do over here. But it does. And even if you're not religious, let's say you're completely neutral, I mean, there is this pervading belief system out here then. And it's just, to me, I just find it's perplexing. Marco, thank you. Taurus, appreciate that. Belanca, I know I owe you dear some books. I know, hon. So I'm aware. I will get to it. Electric Tragedy says I'm just picking up the conversation in the chat room. So again, I'm just putting it out there. I don't have those answers myself because I just, this matrix at times just freaking blows my mind. It's at times complete insanity. It makes no sense. and the projection and the direction makes no sense. And, I guess the saying of this guy, Solomon, the black dude, was right. Man, the more you know, wisdom brings sorrow. He's absolutely right, it does. And then I'm thinking, then what freaking deity or deities would even think this? I mean, who in their right mind would do this? It is so illogical to my thinking. I mean, wow. And you put this thought into a society, and then it becomes more pervasive, right? And, it begins to get down into the minutia of everything. So regardless, again, what you're building up here don't matter. It's down here. Woo! Paula says she isn't going to wrap her mouth around this garbage. You see, I can dig that. I mean, that to me is a completely legitimate response. Because it sucks. But on the other hand, we can't ignore it either. I guess my question is, then what Jesus, is everyone talking about today? I live in a place where everyone holds up their belief system as, a badge over here, and they're like they're some kind of race car driver. They got their sponsorship badges all over them, and and all the time it's the love of Jesus, the love of Jesus. Well, what Jesus are they talking about? Because this one over here, holy crap! Like, what the hell? Paul Joe, you're onto something. Yeah. Keeps us divided, doesn't it? Hey, Monkey Experiment, how you doing? And to all our beautiful feminine, yes, we love the ladies. We welcome them, right? Exactly. Okay. You have to say that, to all the ladies. Yeah, that's it. Sean says it's repugnant. Yeah. I am. How you doing? It happens indeed. So that's my point. It's a point of discussion that should be brought up because, again, I don't know. You see, so much about magic that I read, there seems to be just a small portion that's actually what I would call from the feminine. Many times it's written in a male's perspective, and I'm going, there's something missing here. I mean, why the restriction of allowing the divine feminine aspect that I believe every woman has not to have a voice? I mean, that's why I like the Liber Lilith, No male's taking credit for that one. Like, I didn't know. So anyway, so there we go. Says, write a new book, leave this script behind. Yeah. And it's good because, again, folks, this is still prominent today. Where you see those steeples and those towers and the sigils that hang off those buildings, powerful, powerful stuff going on here. Yeah. So there you go. Tomorrow we'll be with Miss Trina. Later this week, we're going to get into the feminine magic. That's all I got to say. The mother's milk is a big subject. Even the Mad Max, it was about the mother's milk. There is so much they have denied us. I contend that's why we see our species so out of balance. I mean, it's like we're somersaulting down a hill, and now we've gotten so much inertia built up, we can't stop. And people are throwing up, man. It's like being on that tilt-a-whirl, and people are getting sick to their stomach, but man, no one can stop it. That's how I think the world is right now. It's like, man, that's all I got to say. Anyway, hey Heather, what's up? Good to see you. Mary Wednesday, it's right. It's that duality thing. Toe finger wouldn't. No, you see, that's just it. I mean, I'm kind of like the rat. Forget the cheese. Just get me out of the trap. Keep your cheese. Just show me where the door is, please. Thank you. Well, thank you, Hive the Maelstrom. Yeah. We have got to learn. And the other thing that gets me is that, yeah, I'll save that for more time, because, there is another aspect to this, because if one bleeds into the other, then you got cross-contamination. And that bleeds into a whole lot of other stuff. Yeah. And the wheels, they go round and round, right? There we go. That's all I got to say. But Miriam, thank you. We're adults here. We're all enlightened beings. I think we're all looking for that answer, because it's so out of balance. It really is. It's messed up, man. That's all I got to say. It's messed up. All right, John Price, I'm in my doom buggy ahead of the bus. There we go. All right, so I will see y'all tomorrow with Miss Trina, and I think we're going to bring this up. And if anyone would like to join us tomorrow, love to have you on, because it seems to me that there is work to be done to kind of change us. And those who have tried before us, they've endured ridicule and everything else. It's crazy. So if you want to come for a delightful hour, just email me and we'll make this fun. Blanca, yes. When are you going to talk about sex magic? I will do that. We just got a great book on it. Got a fabulous book on it. And this is my point, Blanca. Exactly. So, you basically desecrate the feminine, right? And then you got to shame the sexual part of it. Yeah. It's like, yeah, like I can't see this playbook. I've seen this one before. Because all I've got to say is this. I see so many trying to put the flesh part down, but yet every deity I've read about, they wanted a piece of that. They wanted to tap that app. That's all I got to say. I ain't going to say anymore. So Kundalini, someone's got it. Yeah, exactly. So again, happy birthday, Deborah. Thank you, dear. Ruby, good to see you, hon. And Mike, that should have solved Social Security's. Anyway, namaste to everyone. Lady Elite, good to see you, dear. So keep smiling. Thank you all. And maybe we'll get this figured out. At least I want to go over to the other side going, you just don't want to get into, the other class. You want to get in. That's what I'm saying. Yeah.